Of all the released games I remember playing, I rarely felt satisfaction from much of last year's library. Apparently, I was doing my shopping in the wrong places. Dead Cells and Hollow Knight, two metroidvania-style side-scrollers I've unashamedly sunk days into, are the type of game I expected would pass under my radar without any consideration. These two games turned out to be massive sleeper hits and two of the greatest masterpieces I've purchased in a very long while. So which is more worth your time? Well, if you're looking for a short and concise answer, both of them are. In fact, I would encourage buying both of them more so than I would ever put one above the other. This isn't really a review, I'm not telling you which game is better. This question largely relies on what you were wanting to get out of a game in the first place. Dead Cells is more of a raw challenge, routinely throwing the player into blinding fast combat sequences with limited abilities. The whole game is practically an endurance run, while Hollow Knight is a bit more astringent, with a much deeper narrative and a larger variety of enemies, abilities, and art style. I can definitely tell you which game I played more of, and that's not saying I preferred this one above the other. My first run through Hollow Knight took me around 50 hours to finally finish. The content this game throws at you is massive, but not overwhelming. It throws just enough at you to want to keep going and figure out why things are happening the way they are and find more about the dark fate that befell the world you're exploring. The voice acting is surface level, all the NPCs speak in a fictitious language only the other characters can understand. But the dialogue is written out for us, and it's some pretty thoughtful stuff. I have to say, when I picked this up, I wasn't expecting the character interaction to be so intelligent. And I feel like that's a word I'm going to be using a lot when describing Hollow Knight, is intelligent. The level design gives you this really Dark Souls-y vibe. It's open world, but it's one area that comprises of multiple layers of verticality and different areas which frequently tangle around and loop back into each other. You'll be surprised how often you take a narrow path down a cave and suddenly you'll think, oh shit, I've been here before. And though its design seems minimalistic, the artists were actually really meticulous with how everything in the game was laid out. On the surface, it doesn't seem like much, but some of the scenery in this game made my jaw drop. More so than anything I've seen from any modern AAA title, because you aren't expecting such a noticeable variety. Some of the levels seem small and compact, which makes the larger areas even more impressive. You've went the whole game looking at dirt and rubble, and now I'm in the middle of a city. Hollow Knight is a game you treat with patience and diligence. It's something you need to take your time with. I'll try not to spoil too much, but there are actually multiple endings to the game. Do I have to remind you this game's $15? Facing the final boss alone without the required extras will give you an ending that doesn't really seem that satisfying. The game rewards you for going a couple extra miles and really putting as much effort as you can into the game. There are two halves to a charm that's essential to unlocking one of the final endings. You get one by accomplishing a horridly difficult platforming segment and speaking to an NPC, and you get the other by going through an even more horridly difficult platforming segment that teeters just over the line of downright ridiculous. Conjoining these two pieces at the very bottom of the world gives you the final charm that you can use to unlock the ending. And this isn't me walking you through the game either, the description of the charm practically tells you what to do with it. The audio design is also really intelligently formatted. The music score is composed brilliantly enough, but certain ambience and audio cues I believe have a way of telling the player what to do. The music picks up if you're in a chunk of the area that's infested with threats, but some of the greatest scenery in the game is accompanied with slower, subtle ambience that tell the player it might be wise to stop for a moment and just take it all in. Hollow Knight encourages and even on some occasions demands exploration from the player. Not so like the second game mentioned in the title. Dead Cells is a masochistic endurance run of reflex and frustration. If you want to get through this game, you're gonna have to get your ass kicked. That much it actually does take after Dark Souls, but I feel as though comparing this game to Dark Souls is kind of putting it on the wrong shelf. Dead Cells demands you to be fast, effective, and very deliberate with how you dice, cut, and smash your way through each level. The story element is much more shallow and easier to read. You're some cell or spirit that found its way into a rotting corpse and decides to pilot that corpse around like an acrobatic monkey. It's important to say this game is still in its developmental stages, as it only has been released as an early access title. Updates are frequent and the game is constantly shifting, but the challenge and frustration are definitely here to stay. Because it's so short, I would say the replay value for this already exceeds Hollow Knight. There are no checkpoints, nor is there a save system that lets you continue where you left off. One life, no continues. Make more than a couple mistakes, and it's back to being sewer leakage. This actually makes the game incredibly addicting. Since there's no story element or character exposition, you really aren't given an indication of how many levels you're expected to go through. There's no build-up, you're just running and killing stuff, and that's a huge reason why the game is so much fun. It's mindless, straight up, hack and slash, kicking ass, no bullshit, no character arc, no strategy, irrefutable, unquestionable, one way to beat it: grab a sword, get to work. Welcome to Dead Cells, fucking pussy. But I wouldn't be deceived by the game's length. There doesn't seem to be much variety in the enemies, and with a little practice, you can take down anything with some coordination. No, the variety in Dead Cells lies elsewhere. There is such an abundance of weapons in this game, it's almost ridiculous. You get bows, hammers, spears, shields, bombs, whips, magic, turrets, swords, greatswords, bear traps, buzzsaws, a pair of sandals, Christ. And to top off the whole thing, a health flask. Yeah, if there's one bit of inspiration it drew from Dark Souls, it was its healing mechanism. Now, one specific thing I have noticed is that even though you can play it safe by taking your time and methodically taking down enemies, I don't think the developers want that. Every element in this game is a means to suggest speed over strategy. The teleporters that give you the shortcuts, the doors that close if you don't get to them fast enough, the timer they put at the bottom of the screen, it couldn't be more obvious. This game was built for speed running. Sure, you can take your time and plan out what you're going to do, but I get the feeling that's not what the developers had in mind. Dying and replaying it again and again seems counterproductive, but you don't play this game for a story. It'll take you just as much time to get through this as it would Hollow Knight, despite the games being two completely different lengths. I can't tell you how many times I've sat there in dread saying, okay, I've got shit that needs to be done, one more run, and then I'm quitting for now. And 2 hours later, I'm still sitting there trying to get past the graveyard. The fact that it's an early access gives me hope that there will be more content added to the game before its final release. In fact, on their Steam page, it says that they have ambitions to double the content currently in the game. Now, I'd buy this one first, just because early access titles tend to hike up the price, and Hollow Knight is and will always be $15, assuming there's no sale. When I bought Dead Cells a couple months ago, it was $15 as well, but I'm not sure if there's been a price hike since then. But if there hasn't, there definitely will be. Get both of these games, seriously. But if you're wanting to shop smart, get this one first. Are you after patience or pain? Grueling combat or exploration? Both of these games have it, but the decision at the end of the day is up to you. I tried my best to give this comparison a shot without implying that I preferred one over the other, because I honestly don't. Both of these games are just too damn awesome. But I think I explained what each game was about pretty well, and so if you were on the fence, I hope this helped. If there's something you don't agree with, or maybe if there's a third game you prefer over both of these, let's hop down in the comments and we can talk about it. In the meantime, please subscribe and ring the bell so you're always in the know and you never miss a video. Thanks, guys.